14 years ago, pathologist Bennet Omalu saw abnormal proteins in the brain of Mike Webster, a Hall of Fame professional football player who died in 2002. At the time, Omalu had no idea it would lead to a national discussion about the impact of concussions.
What the Mike Webster autopsy did, the Mike Webster discovery, was that it sowed a seed, like an oak seed, that germinated and instigated a national, if not an international, discourse. And that is what every scientific discovery should do.
It also led to a Hollywood movie starring Will Smith, who plays Omalu. The film documented the doctor's battle with the NFL and others who were critical of his research into chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE.
Hollywood has done a very great and good job in taking this from the depths of the valley to the mountaintop of the American psyche and identifying this disease in America's most popular sport. Did not make me the most intelligent doctor, no. Did not even make me a great man, no. All it reaffirms is that I refused to conform to the expectations and demands of society. I refused to conform to the social intoxication of a culture, the culture or subculture of football.
Omalu didn't grow up watching football.
Because I grew up in Nigeria, I knew nothing about the American football. All I did was, growing up in Nigeria, I saw the game once in a while on satellite TV, people running around the field, fully geared up, dressed like extraterrestrials.
But he suspected Webster's brain had been damaged by repeated hits to the head.
And when I was opening up his skull, I believed I was going to see a diseased brain, a bad brain that had been beaten up from all the years of repeated blows of the head.
But the brain appeared perfectly normal at first.
And I chose to fix the brain so that I could spend time with it. I did not know what I was looking for. But intellectually speaking, there was a mismatch between my expectation, my intellectual expectation, and my autopsy finding.
Later, Omalu saw the unusual proteins that caused dementia and depression in Webster and in other football players suffering from CTE.
I spent hundreds of hours on those slides. When I became convinced of what I was seeing, I was convinced it was not Alzheimer's disease. It was not dementia pugilistica like we see in boxers. The next question was, what is it then? I did not know.
After much research, he and several co-authors published a paper about the findings in the Scientific Journal of Neurosurgery. That led to the battle with the NFL and other critics. But today, CTE is widely acknowledged and doesn't just affect football players.
This has never been about football. This is rather more about any human activity that exposes you to single traumatic brain injury, episodic traumatic brain injury, or repetitive traumatic brain injury.
He says other sports can lead to CTE: boxing, ice hockey, martial arts, rugby, and wrestling. Even military veterans can be affected.
Several years later, I examined the brains of 2 retired military veterans, because they too are exposed to repeated subconcussive blows from ordnances, the wave front of explosions. They had CTE. One committed suicide, one died from drug overdose.
Besides his MD, Omalu has earned an MBA, an MPH, and several certifications. He became a certified physician executive, or CPE, in 2011. He says communication skills and the ability to connect with other people are the most valuable qualities for physician leaders.
What can you do in whatever endeavor you find yourself in to bring out the best in others? Because when you bring out the best in others, you are also bringing out the best in you. Because you are, or we are members of one another. That is the single most vital tool I've learned from all this.
He never thought, as a physician leader, his findings would garner so much discussion.
Because in less than 10 years, I don't think there's anybody in America today who may not have heard of CTE.
What does Omalu hope for the future?
I think we should begin to establish CTE clinics all across the country. The top university hospitals in this country should begin to establish centers of excellence for CTE treatment. Just like we have cancer centers all across the country. Traumatic brain injury has become a major part of the 21st century's way of life. And I think this is now, traumatic brain injury is one of the challenges of our century, just like cancer.
He says he's not against football.
But I'm against mankind continuing to make the same mistakes of the past. We as a society, we are evolving, and as we evolve, we become more intelligent. And as you become more intelligent, you give up less intelligent ways you did things in the past. Knowing what we know today, if you bring men together, place helmets on their heads, and ask them to bump into one another for the sake of a game, you're sacrificing the intellectual capacity of men for some transient emotional excitement.
And he's especially concerned about the children and teens suffering from concussions.
We should stop deceiving ourselves by conformational intelligence, that exposing our children to repeated blows of the head is good for them. What you're inferring is that there is something, or there is a blow to the head that is safe.